Miss Avneet Kaur Sidhu. And Madam, we welcome you. Hello,
Thank you.
ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, how are you doing today?
I'm very fine. Thank you, and hope all of you are doing fine too.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And ma'am, it's an extreme pleasure to have you on this stage, on this platform today, even though we know you're a busy person. And it's a great opportunity for us that you have joined us today to, have this conversation and let us know a little about your life. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have with us Madam Avneet Kaur Sidhu, the Deputy Superintendent of Police, Punjab Police, a lady who has vigorously and she has represented our country. She has brought laurels to the country. Ma'am, thank you so much for all your contribution that you have made to bring India on a level above. So, ma'am,
Thank you.
yes, starting with this conversation, the first
Yeah.
question that anybody would like to know is that how did you start? Where did this idea come from? Where was
Uh,
your yeah.
I would call it a very beautiful stroke of luck, I would say, or a beautiful coincidence because while in school, I was not at all into sports. So all I was interested was academics, and I wanted to join the civil services. I wanted to go for the IAS, so that was my aim. But when I joined my graduation, it was in the Smash Girls College, Pagal, and I was
Right.
not very happy. I was not very happy going there because coming from a city and going to a remote college, I was not so happy about it. But then it was there during my first year of graduation in Bachelor of Computer Applications that I started shooting,
Right.
and I picked up shooting, and after that there was no looking back. So that's how it all began.
So, ma'am, is it true that we've heard that your father he gifted you a rifle, a shooting rifle? Is that true?
Yeah, that's true because once I started shooting, I got a lot of support from my family, my mother, my father. Everyone was very supportive. So when my dad realized that I'm doing well and I have the talent, I have the ability, and he believed in me, so it was on my
Uh-huh.
birthday that he gifted me a rifle. So that was a very
Okay.
unique gift, and that is how it all happened.
So, ma'am, I think being a lady and being a lady in this country, especially at the time, going back about 10 to 15 years back, when this thing was still not accepted. How was your
Yeah.
journey then? What were the challenges that you faced, or was there anything that you think that could have been done in a better way, or you could have had more support from some place or the other? Was there anything like that?
Uh, See, challenges are there in every field, whether we go back 20 years back or we look at even now, challenges are always there. But I think the best part that happened to me was that my family was very supportive. They were proactive. They were more eager than me for me doing well. And equally, my determination matched with their expectations. So I
Right.
think everything went very smoothly. Challenges are there because when I started shooting, I was not aware of how to go about it. I was very little basics I knew about it, and then I was not sure that what is the proper technique to be at the top. So I had to face a lot of failures also. Sometimes I did well, sometimes I didn't do well, but I never gave up. So that was the spirit. And of course, challenges are there. Sometimes you don't get enough support from the government.
Right.
Sometimes you are not recognized. So I think all these challenges are there, but I think these challenges make the journey more beautiful. So
That's right. That's right.
yeah.
So, ma'am, tell me one thing. In the past so many years, you started
Yeah.
with another dream. Your path shifted to something else, and today we see you. You are in a position of power, and you have this great personality. What is that one thing you think that kept you going? What is that one thought that never let you give up?
I think that's the spirit which I'm born with. I think it's in my genes also, I would say, because my family has also been like this. My mother, my father, my grandparents, everyone who I've connected with since my childhood, they have all been great fighters, whether it's on a personal front, whether it's on a professional front. So I
Right.
think I have inherited this ability from them, and I was always very keen. The one thing I've been very clear about my goals, about my priorities, that what is my priority right now. So those things are very clear in my mind, whether I tell it to other people or not. But in my mind, I know that what I have to do. So there are failures, there are challenges, there are many shortcomings, many obstacles, but then ultimately what we want to do is it's accomplished. So I think that keeps you going.
That's really
And now I
beautiful,
have a
ma'am.
daughter. I have a daughter now, so it makes me more responsible because she has to look up to me. So I feel that she should be proud of me when she grows up. That okay, this was my mother did it, and she should become a better person than
Right.
me.
So, do you think at any point of time it has been challenging for your daughter that she comes from a mother who has a long list of achievements? So, do you think that kind of pressure does she? Do you like have this thing on her, or does she also face this pressure at any moment?
No, I have never allowed to feel such pressure for her because she has her own ability, she has her own
Right.
talent, and she has her own dreams, her own aspirations. She does know that my mom is something special. Why everyone is calling her? Why she keeps asking me why they keep interviewing you and why you are going to events and. But she knows and she has seen some really good movies like sports movies and Dangal and also. I've told her that like this is what happens. I have worked hard and I have won such big medals, and that is why people know me. And I tell her that people will know you also if you will work hard. And I
Great.
so that's it. She knows, but there no pressure on her.
So we can see a lot of support that was passed to you when you were in the same place and in the same. I think the same support is going forward towards the daughter now, and that's a
Yes,
really beautiful
definitely.
thing. So, ma'am, you were in the sports for a very long time. You've been representing India, and a lot has been going on in your life. So there was a sudden shift now that you are in police. You are into an administering duty. So how did you
Yeah.
like that? How was this change?
I think being a sports person helps you a lot because you have been through everything. You have been exposed to the world. You have been exposed to everything. Every day is a new challenge, even when we are in the sport. Every day we go to the field, we are facing a new challenge. Even in
Right.
shooting, every day you have to. People say that you were shooting for so many years. Why don't you hit the bullseye every time? But it's not so easy. Every day we have to fight for that one single point. So I
Right.
think policing is easy comparatively if we compare it to the sports because there are expectations of billion people on your shoulders when you're representing your country. And I think that spirit, that passion, that determination to overcome the challenges, face them, and be positive about them, that helps a lot in policing also.
Right, right. And ma'am, since that now we are talking about your sports career as well, was there any particular incident that made you feel so full of proud? I mean, I'm sure that you've been winning so many prizes and there is a long list of achievements again, but that one moment that you can never forget.
There are many moments. It's little unfair if we compare one to another. If I say that that was the best, but yes, there are a couple of moments like when I won the first medal for India, when I represented India in Commonwealth Games, and the national anthem is being played and your flag goes up. So that's a
Right,
very very emotional moment and very sweet moment. So that was my first win, and it was very special for me. And then equally, when I qualified for the Olympics, it
right.
was a very tough match. I didn't start so well, but I finished up well, and I ended up qualifying for the Olympics for India, and that was also special. And then same goes for the Arjuna Award. When I won the Arjuna Award, so that is a recognition of all the efforts you have made all over the years. So that is also very sweet memory.
That's really great, ma'am. And so, ma'am, there are so many people in the same line that you are in talking about shooting. We have RBS Rathore, we have Abhinav Bindra, and these are the legend players who have changed Indian Olympics, and they have changed the future scenario for the coming generations as well. My question to
Yeah.
you is that who is your idol, and how did these people contribute to your shooting career? And who is that one person that you look forward to whenever you are doing something or you are in the game?
When I started shooting, Anjali Bhagwat, you must have heard of her. She has
Yes.
been my idol ever since I started shooting. And I remember all the Indian shooters, they were called to a college just for a demonstration. And I was really excited to see all of them. I met Abhinav. Abhinav was not there. I met Anjali. I met Jaspal Rana over there. And I
Okay.
took their autographs because we were so excited to see them. But then after a few
Right.
years, she was my teammate at the Olympic Games. So I think it was a really beautiful thing. And all these players, whether it's Abhinav, whether it's Rathore, whether all the senior players who have been shooting so long, they have been very supportive whenever we used to travel as a team. So it was really like
Right.
one big family. So a lot of support from all of them.
So, like listening to you having Anjali ma'am as an idol gives us so truly a depiction of what women empowerment in this country is, and how motivation from one woman passes to another, and you yourself are a motivation to so many girls like me and many others who are watching us live at the moment. So, ma'am, we have also seen you speaking a lot about women empowerment, at the grassroots level. And recently, we saw you distributing sanitary pads in an area, and during the lockdown period, especially, which was really truly inspiring. And I think most of the people who are watching us should take an example that she has set for us. So, ma'am, what do you think, and what can be seen as empowering that most of our society neglects this kind of problem that we face every month? So what do you have to say about that?
I think it's high time that, one thing I would like to say is that we all talk of women empowerment, but very frankly, I must admit that we still have a long, long way to go. Only the empowered women who have achieved something, we can look up to them. But then we actually see the ground reality. The problems are still the same. Every woman is facing the same kind of challenges. And even the women who are empowered, they are not like everything goes so smoothly for them, because they being into force or in the work field, they have to face even tougher challenges, because they are then touted as ambitious or self-driven or selfish women. So I think we still have a long way to go. And once we recognize that the woman is an equal person, it's not that she is something inferior. That day women empowerment will come, and then we won't hesitate to talk about the issues which women face every month, or any kind of issue which are associated with women.
Right, ma'am. So basically, ma'am, identifying the problem in the society is the first way where we can really take a step forward to improve, right? And it's great that you have contributed, and we need more people who are in the power, who have this position that can, bring in a major difference. So you have really, set an example for many who must be watching us right now. And ma'am, we have a question in the audience. We have Pooja here, who wants to know that what measures can be taken by us for the safety of women in the country to reduce crimes against women.
See, you can't answer this question in one line, If we see from the government level, government perspective, there are different measures. If we go from the legal perspective, there are different measures. But as a society also, we have some responsibility towards bringing this crime rate low, because we have, it's our duty, people who are like born in lower class families, what they see, what the children are seeing there, it's like the father is beating their mother. The mother goes through domestic violence, so much of abuse, whether it's physical abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse, or torture, everything she's going through. And they grow up seeing all those things. So I think we have to start from there, and then crimes happen, because they don't know how to respect a woman. They are used to seeing her as an object. So women are objectified for them, like she's just meant for cooking food, or she's just meant for doing domestic chores, or she's just an object for men. That is how crimes happen, because the psyche is such that we are used to believe that women is only meant for these things. So until we reach to this psyche of the society, it's very difficult to bring this change. So we really have to hit at the psyche of the people. Women are not objects; they are an equal gender. There are equal beings, equal human beings. So we need to respect them. Then only we can truly bring some change. Otherwise, all those measures will really fail. Whether the government is doing something or whether the justice system is doing something, because it's the people who are committing the crimes.
Right. So we need to start going at very grassroots level. The basics need to be changed right now.
Yeah.
Right. So, ma'am, you've rightly said, and it's deeply saddening how we still face this kind of a problem in the country where respect is much women in this country. And ma'am, with this moving forward, Shalini Machra wants to know, what is that one thing which is the most challenging thing about your job? Though I know the whole job is a very challenging part, but ma'am, what is that one thing that you find the most challenging?
See, we can't pick up one thing, because some days are smooth and some days are more challenging than others. So it's like challenge could be anything. It could be a professional challenge. It could be something you're facing on the personal front and balancing the both things. So there are different kinds of challenges. So can't pick up just one thing.
I think that really answers the question, because being in such a position. It is really difficult, I'm sure, Shalini. And ma'am, Mr. Bhupinder wants to know, as you're working on the ground level, do you think that people's mentality changed in terms of awareness? Have you seen any shift in the people's mentality recently, ma'am?
I don't know. It's very difficult to answer because yes, I have seen seen a major change also because people are now more proactive for their daughters, bringing their daughters forward, supportive of their daughters. But otherwise, not much has changed. Even today, I was reading some news in my city, Bathinda, where the sex determination centers are running on, and the people are paying like 50,000 to know the sex of the child. So I think it's difficult to say something has changed because we have examples of people who are supporting their daughters, but then we have examples of such cases also. So it's cannot say that a big change has happened because people are still very curious to know whether they have a baby girl or a baby boy, and then paying so much of money for these. So it's really sad. And I actually don't believe, I don't want to sound pessimistic, but it's really sad that I don't think a big change has happened.
Well, it really is sad, and we still have a long way to go looking at the speed we are moving. And a lot of sad news has been seen during this time of crisis as well, ma'am. And I'm sure you must have had come across such incidents that have happened during the lockdown. But coming on a more positive note, ma'am, I'm sure that people are changing, right? And somewhere somebody is trying to bring in a revolution. So what is your advice to all these young ladies who really want to bring in a major change in their life? They want to get out of this position that they are currently stuck at. How do you think they can, do that?
See, we have some very predetermined set of rules prescribed for a woman how to live in a society. So unless and until we change those rules for women, it's very difficult to bring the revolution because women only have to stand up for themselves, and women have to support other women because in many cases what I have seen is that women only, they are like stopping the progress of other women, the growth of other women around them, whether it's in their family, whether it's in the professional front, whether it's on a friends or whatever it is. But women have to be more supportive of other women, and I think men will follow because women are more stronger, I feel. And so it's very important that we give equality. We have to see her as an equal person. There is nothing God or nature has, nature has made us different, but that doesn't mean that we are inferior to anyone. We have to think like this. We have to bring major, changes, and we have to break some rules. We have to have the courage. Only then a revolution can be brought in. And for that, women only have to stand up and, that thing that what will people say and what will that person say, they have to get out of this.
Right. So ma'am, I am going to repeat the the audience. Ma'am has very beautifully put this, and I want to quote this, that more than anybody else, a woman can help a woman in today's time for bringing down this misery. So ma'am, coming back to your shooting career, you have seen shooting evolving as a sport in our country right now. So we would like to know that, do you think that the sport is at its peak in the country now, and both in terms of talent and popularity, and is this the best phase for anybody to come out and start pursuing it?
Definitely, it's one of the best phases because we have world number ones in our country. We have world champions. Any medal you say, we have all of them in our country. And especially the younger lot, they are doing so well. I mean, beating, once when we started shooting, it was the Chinese or the Germans or the Russians who were doing well, but now it's the Indians. So it is very heartening to see these young shooters coming up so well. And they have made the competition also so tough. And it's really a good phase to enter shooting. And I think they really have broken all the barriers which we used to think that Chinese are the best or that person is the best. So Indians are now on the top of the world, and I think even in terms of performance, shooting is number one sport in the country.
Right. So, ma'am, we have talked a lot about shooting. We have talked a lot about your job, about women empowerment. I would now like to come to a very personal note with you. I would like to know from you that if, let's say, in the coming few years, somebody decides to make a biopic on you in the Bollywood, whom would you really like to act as the modern Navneet Kaur Sidhu in that movie?
First of all, making a biopic on shooters would be very boring because there's already a biopic made on Aman of Dimsa, and
Right.
it's very difficult to portray the emotions a shooter goes through because we can't like shout or we can't,
Yeah.
be so open about our emotions, and it's very difficult to make such a movie. But yes, just hypothetically, I don't know. I think maybe Alia Bhatt.
That would be so good to see her doing
Yeah.
performing in your role, and I think that's really good. So, ma'am, tell us. I'm personally very curious to know that we have been seeing so many movies made on sports persons in this country, and there are so many times that we see that these people they have bullying is happening at a competition or the other. So, have you also come across any certain incident where somebody from another country or from another state has said something or done something that really was a moment that took you by surprise?
No, no. No, I never. I don't think I ever faced such thing, and I haven't even seen other shooters doing this to other people. I mean, shooting is a very individual sport, and it's like you are in your own zone. But yes, when you are together, I think everyone bonds up very easily, very well, and I have never seen such thing happening in shooting.
Okay,
So,
great.
personally, I haven't never experienced any such incidents.
And like you said, that sporting, this shooting sport it's a very silent sport, right? And we know the human brain to be so much covered with so many thoughts all the time. So how do you really focus when you have that rifle in your hand and you have the target in front of you? What has helped you the best to focus?
I think it's very simple also, but at the same time very complex also, because if you start thinking about it too much. But I think lots of practice, when you are doing this practice every day, you are shooting hundreds of shots every day, and that thing subconsciously, you feed it into your subconscious mind.
Right.
So even when your conscious mind is giving you so many thoughts, but that subconscious mind is trained so much to follow that technique, follow the sequence of shooting, that you're able to balance it both. And we cannot just stop the thoughts from coming in, because it's human mind, and we have hundreds of things going on in our mind at 1 second. So the thoughts are coming, but you just learn how to ignore those thoughts and how to just focus on the task at present, the task you're doing in your hand.
Right. So, ma'am, you have come a long way from where you've started. So many ups and downs, failures and achievements, awards and recognitions. One of the people in the audience, he wants to know that how does it really feel? How do you see as an individual? How do you see your dreams coming true? And what is that feeling? Can you please share it with us?
It's a very satisfying feeling, and when you start looking back into where you started, and it's also very humbling, because not everyone gets to achieve that success, because there are so many hard working people out there. Sometimes talent is just wasted because they don't get the opportunities. So I feel really truly blessed, and I'm very humble also. It makes me very humble when people, they show so much of love and so much of appreciation. And there are people who come and tell me that we have named our daughter because of you, we have named her Avneet. So it's very humbling experience, and I really like that even if my journey has influenced even one person in the whole world, that's really something rewarding, because if someone can get really inspired. So I think that's very rewarding experience, and I feel really blessed about it.
Well, ma'am, it's been so much of a pleasure listening to you and seeing the real Avneet Kaur talking to us from her heart today. And ma'am, it's really great to have you. And coming towards the end of this conversation now, my last question to you would be that if there was this one thing that you wanted to change today in today's system that you personally are administering in, what would be that one thing?
One thing.
One thing. I know there are so many, but
I would want to get rid of the corruption existing everywhere. I would just prefer a fair and very transparent system, where no one has to pay any money for any job done.
Right.
So that's it.
Right. Well, listening this thing from a lady officer It's not only a moment of pride for all of us that we have such people who are serving us so faithfully, because that's what really the people of this country really deserve. And since you know said that one thing and you were surprised to answer that one thing, let's take a second thing as well, ma'am. What would be the second thing that you would really like to bring a change with?
Second thing, it could be I would really, it's I can't say just one thing again, because there are so many things, when
Right.
you see as a person that, okay, I want to change this, I want to change this, I want to change this. But I think, not talking about the job, but on the whole, I would just really want everyone to have education, because good education and good health facilities, because that is the place where our country is lacking. Everyone doesn't have the basic right to education and even to good health. So people are suffering because of that. And I think these two are very important sectors which we really need to focus on. And I really wish that all the people in this country, they would have, be educated and be in good health, have those facilities to get good health. That is a dream, I would say.
Apneet ma'am, before I end this conversation, I want you to know from my heart really, that you are an inspiration. And talking to you has opened not only my eyes, but it has brought in a new perspective for me to see the world around. And I'm sure everybody who is watching us live right now must have taken something from this conversation that would bring in a positive change for the environment, whether it be regarding women empowerment, whether it be the sports in this country, the administration in this country. So thank you so very much for joining us live today. And I want to thank Lovely University, the student organization cell that has brought you so close to us. And ma'am, thank you once again. Thank you so much for answering us so honestly, so blissfully, and it was great talking to you. So thank you so much.
It was a pleasure talking to you too. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.